I now have the UPS hooked up with a 60-watt load, which would be that light bulb right there. And then I also have hooked up to it 2 meters, and one of them is a kilowatt, and unfortunately the outlets on the back of this are upside down, so I'm going to flip the camera over to so you can view that a little bit better. The kilowatt says we're at 120 volts. My cheap Centec multimeter says we're at 118.5. Those are just going into 2 different outlets on the back of this here. And if I hit the watt button on the kilowatt, you can read that my 60-watt bulb is indeed pulling 60 watts. So now, if we go and we unplug the power cord for the UPS, we'll see that the light does indeed stay on. And we can hear a relay kick in the UPS. It also activates a fan. So apparently the power electronics are converting the DC to AC right now. That generates some heat, and so that fan comes on automatically to cool it. Now looking at the meters again, the voltage is a little bit lower. It looks like it's about 117 volts. The watts is also just going off a little bit. Let's see what else we got. According to this, our frequency is still pretty close to dead on to 60 hertz. If I hit the power factor, it's at 0.99, 0.98, sounds pretty good too. And also on the multimeter it says we're at about 117 volts. So it sounds to me like this UPS is working properly, even with just kind of jerry-rigged temporary battery pack. The frequency in hertz on the AC coming out of there is pretty darn good, and the voltage is certainly within the acceptable range, although it's a couple of volts off from what comes out of my power outlet, but not a real big deal there either. Also, I may have to modify that alarm to not beep at me when I'm just on batteries here, because that might get annoying using this for a home-built solar power system. But looks like we got it up and running. And so the next thing will be to hook it up to a real battery pack and then see what we can do for a solar charge controller.